since there is, and I cannot understate this enough, genuinely stuff all that is happening in the AFL trade period in 2024, I thought let's reflect on Generation Next that's already here. Your club's 21 and under crew. Now, considering it's currently October when I recorded this video, I thought the easy cutoff would just be 2003. So even if right now you've got a guy on your list who was born in 2002 but haven't had their birthday yet, I just made it as easy and simple as possible to make the cutoff point 2003. If you're born in 2003 or later, you're eligible to be part of the ranking. If you're born in 2002 but you're still 21, sorry, you're not here. That's as simple as it is. And I'm looking at every club's group as a collective. This is not the best of them. This is not the originals. This is not projections. This is as it stands right now. And keep in mind before we start is that there is an instinctual placing, and stick around till the end of the video to find the finalized rankings, because there are a couple of changes from where they end up on the list at the start and when they end up at the end. So keep that in mind before you bag me in the comments, which you've absolutely got the right to do. Why not? There are 18 opinions here. You're not going to agree with all of them. You may not agree about your club, but if you do agree, why don't you go ahead and click the like button for me? More people can see it. And if you disagree with what I say about your club, subscribe. That'll teach me a lesson. Have a good one. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and fingers crossed we get some trades. Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. So 4 categories, and I'm actually going to explain why there's not a 5th one in a sec, but we've got exciting, we've got promising, we've got relatively unknown, and we've got worrying. So am I worried about your group of 21 and unders? Do I think they're a little bit unknown as a collective? Am I excited by them? Are they showing promise? All those good things is what we're going to go with today. We're going to have the graphics up. It's going to be great. I'm in my Deadpool hat. We're getting serious up in here. Let's do this. Let's start with the Crows, who have got Charlie Edwards, Oscar Ryan, Dan Curtin, Hugh Bond, Billy Dowling, Max Michaelani, Toby Murray, Luke Nankervis, Josh Rochelle, Zach Taylor, and Jake Saligo. So I know you're probably just going to think that I've got my Crom hat on here, but I like a lot of that list. Jake Saligo is a good footballer. I really liked what I've seen from Zach Taylor. Luke Nankervis had some really good moments. I'm loving what I'm hearing about Toby Murray. Now, Hawthorn fans aren't a big fan of Max Michaelani for what he did in the Adelaide Hawthorn game, but I can look past it a little bit. I think this guy's a star. I think he's going to be a 2-time All-Australian by the time his career is up. Loved what I saw from Billy Dowling late. I think he deserves a bigger go. Hugh Bond, we saw a little bit, played a couple of defensive forward roles, which was really exciting, or defensive roles, I should say. Dan Curtin, high draft pick, pumped to see what he can do for hopefully 200 plus games for the Crows. Hopefully. We haven't seen a whole lot of Oscar Ryan yet, but some Sandful stuff that came out was reasonably promising. And Charlie Edwards there is the one that I think not enough people are talking about in terms of guys that we haven't really been exposed to that much yet. He is nearly top of the list of guys I'm excited for. He's not number 1, because there's a guy at North that owns that, and I'll talk about that. Let's take the Crows, and I'm going to put them really in the promising bit here. The only reason I'm not putting them in the exciting category is I just don't think we've seen enough of them yet consistently, and part of that is on Matty Nix. I think he just has to play them more. So let's go to Brisbane, who are rolling with a few good names here. We've got Zane Zakostelski, we've got Luke Lloyd, Reece Torrent, Logan Morris, Will McLaughlin, Darcy Craven, Will Ashcroft, Jasper Fletcher, Shador Brain, like Shador Sanders, Darcy Wilmot, Jimmy Tunstall, and Kai Lohman. Now, this is going to be relatively interesting here because we've got, let's do the count here, Morris, Ashcroft, Norm Smith medalist, Fletcher, who played in the Premiership, Darcy Wilmot did as well, and Kai Lohman. So there are 5 names there that are already Premiership players. So it would be reasonably disrespectful for me not to put them in the exciting category. I liked what we saw from Shador in a big way. Jimmy Tunstall is probably going to be a fringe player until he can figure it out. Haven't seen a whole lot from their rookies yet. I really liked Zakostelski coming out of his draft year. Luke Lloyd, I liked bits and pieces of his under-18s year. Don't think he consistently put it together. We'll wait and see what Reece Torrent can provide, but the future at Brisbane is bright. Their veterans are bright. The whole list is in great shape. It's as simple as that. The boys from Icon Park, Carlton, are rolling with Matt Carroll, Billy Wilson, Ashton Moyer, Cooper Lord, Hudson O'Keefe, Lockie Cowan, Jackson Binns, Rob Monohan, Harry Lemmy, Ollie Hollins, and Jesse Motlop. Interesting group here. Really interesting group. I really like Jesse Motlop. The draft fit seemed really good. I am actually a touch worried about Jesse Motlop and where his ceiling is going to become as an AFL footballer. I understand being in this group, needing more time is perfectly obvious. And when you've got Charlie and you've got Harry, opportunities are going to be taken away from you a little bit. But if Matty Owies is on the move and not a Carlton anymore, that forward spot is going to belong to him and Ashton Moyer. They are going to be the small forwards. David Cunningham's not there. Jack Silvani is probably going to play as your hybrid third tall. I think Brodie Kemp could play a role down there as well. You've also got Elijah Hollins coming off the high half forward. So those two boys there would be awesome to see. I love Ashton Moyer in a massive way. I thought he was a great get. The highlights he was able to bring was really awesome. Jackson Binns has showed some really good signs. He had some genuinely stupid VFL numbers that were genuinely crazy. Cooper Lord, their mid-season draftee, he looks a talent. Billy Wilson was a man brought up by Pommy when we were reviewing Carlton, which I highly recommend if you haven't checked out, go and do so, because the man's a legend. I love that chat. He identified Billy as someone to look out for. Harry Lemmy still needs some time to develop, and probably the underrated man across that line there is Lockie Cowan as your sort of half lockdown, hybrid rebounding defender who I thought showed really good signs. I just don't think he and Brodie Kemp can play in the same backline. So Brodie can be a forward, I think. I know he had the game against West Coast, but give him a preseason, I think he could really shine. Lockie Cowan just needs to stay down back. He is your hybrid back pocket for the future. For the Blues, I'm actually going to go with their group and go in the exciting bit. I am excited by this group. I'm intrigued by Jesse Motlop. Pretty excited about most of the rest, and we'll see how they go. But we will review at the end, and I'll see if anything feels off, but that's where I stand with the Blues at the moment. I think it's a pretty exciting group. The reigning Victorian premiers, Collingwood, Harry DiMattia, Eliro Smith, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Eliro Smith, I should say, Stu Giath, Jacob Ryan, Ed Allen, Harvey Harrison, Oscar Steen, Ned Long, and Nick Dacos. So, Nick can't carry this on his own in terms of, we can't just say it's exciting because Nick Dacos is a top 5 player in the competition, right? So, collectively as a group, let's kind of work backwards a little bit. So, we haven't seen a whole lot of Jacob Ryan. Ed Allen looked really good to finish the season. Harvey Harrison is a really exciting. I love Harvey Harrison a lot. Haven't seen a whole lot of Oscar Steen. Ned Long got, I think, more games than Ned Long and anyone who probably watched him at Hawthorn probably thought he was going to get, and he's their 21st, 22nd best player. Harry DiMattia is getting a lot of good vibes coming out of the club, which we love. But speaking to a Collingwood fan that I love and trust, said that at the Copeland Trophy, he asked a couple of senior players, including one that is a very good finals player, about this guy who said they love his aggression and should play next year, which I thought was really cool. So I'll include him in here as well. Here's my worry about the Pies, is that they're chasing Dan Houston. Now, they're not giving up these guys, but when Craig McRae says they're going to prioritise players over picks, that either means they're going to play a more experienced team and try for a Geelong-esque period of success, which means who's chasing these guys? Ed Allen's going to be a guy I think clubs are going to come for next year if he's not getting a game. I can see Jacob Ryan being a guy clubs target. So they're either going to play or they're going to become trade targets and go play somewhere else. So that's my worry for the Pies. Anyway, I'm still going to put them in the promising bit. Are they more promising than Adelaide's group? I'm going to say yes. I think so. Okay, let's go to the Bombers. And the Bombers are rolling with Archie Roberts, Vigo Vicentini, Nate Caddy, Luamon Luau, Lewis Hayes, Elijah Sarnis, Jaden Davey, Alwyn Davey, and Ben Hobbs. Now, straight away, I know this seems harsh, but I am putting them in the genuine worry category because Archie Roberts is a tick. I am more than happy to call this young man a tick. He just oozes footy IQ. How he fell so far down the draft order. If you watched my live streams of the draft, I was getting angrier and angrier that he and Ari Schoenmaker were just falling down the draft order. It made no sense to me. I think he got taken in the 40s by the Bombers, which makes a lot of sense. May have even been further than that. Could have been the 50s. Love what I've seen. Nate Caddy's a tick for mine already. What he's been able to show has been extraordinary. Lewis Hayes has unfortunately been injured. We haven't seen Vicentini yet, but Is he going to be a guy that clubs could target in the next year or so? Sam Draper, I think Essendon need to trade now. He's not a top 12 ruckman in this league, guys. He's just not. Of all my preseason predictions, that's probably the one I nailed the most versus people that had disagreements. He's just not. He's not a top 12 ruckman in this league. He's a free agent next year. Get something for him now. You know, if you say to Adelaide, it's highly unlikely you're going to get Alex Dodson. Do you want Sam Draper? Maybe they go for that. If I'm an Adelaide fan and in the Adelaide room, I ain't doing that. I'd rather have Alex Dodson, to be honest, at this point. But I'm worried about this group. We haven't seen much from the Davey boys. Alwyn with his on-field performance. Jaden with his injuries. Ben Hobbs and Elijah Sardis may not even be there, but even if they are, they can't really break into the lineup. I'm worried about this group, I really am. Fremantle, we're rolling with Odin Jones, Ollie Murphy, Jack DeLeon, Cooper Simpson, Hugh Davies, Max Noble, Josh Draper, Neil Erasmus, Jai Miss, Patrick Voss, and Matty Johnson. Let's start with the big ticks on this list, none more so than Jai Amos, who kicked 40 goals a couple of years ago. I actually don't know what he kicked this year, so that's interesting. You know what, let's look it up. I know you guys will probably know, but while I'm looking it up, Patrick Voss, look, he played more games than I think he should have. And what I mean by that is that structurally, Paddy Voss, Matt Taberner, like they really are lacking that third forward. They need that sort of athletic hybrid type. You know, taller than a Switkowski, definitely shorter than Jai Amos. So let's see how that goes. I know that I'm looking this up on the fly, which is not great that I'm doing this, but however, we can move on. Ollie Murphy I like as a tall defender. Jack DeLeon we didn't really see, but Freo need a small forward, so interesting that he couldn't get a game. I like what I've seen from Cooper Simpson, Hugh Davies, Max Noble. These guys we haven't really seen a lot. Josh Draper was outstanding. That game against Sydney, he was almost single-handedly holding up that defence, which when you consider what Freo were able to do in that game, is simply extraordinary. I've got to be honest, don't know a whole lot about Odin Jones. I'm not going to lie to you. Where are their stats? There they are. How many goals did Jai Miss kick? Kick 36. There you go. So 80 goals in the last 2 years. That's a massive tick for him. I love Neil Erasmus and I love Matt Johnson. I think anyone that listened to my 21 draft content, which I think was when Matty Johnson was there, I definitely overestimated when he was going to go in the draft. So that's how much I love him. And I think Neil Erasmus is someone that is make or break in terms of being in a Freo jumper, because I think there are plenty of Victorian clubs, Essendon and St Kilda, that I think should throw significant interest into him. But in terms of a collective, Jai Amos is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. So's Matt Johnson, Josh Draper. I'm going to go promising. I think I might put it at the back end though. Maybe. That feels about right. Geelong are rolling with Mitch Edwards, Connor O'Sullivan, George Stevens, Jai Clark, Ted Cloesy, Oliver Dempsey, Lawson Humphreys, Toby Conway, and Mitch Nevitt. If I was going on personal bias here, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but if I'm going as biased as I can here, love. Mitch Nevitt was a guy who I loved in his draft class. Toby Conway, Geelong have had inquiries about him in the last 2 off-seasons that are saying, no, he's our guy for the future. You can definitely see why. I think he's shown significant improvement. Humphreys was golden out of WA. Oliver Dempsey, outstanding. I really like George Stevens. I am worried about, with them getting Bailey Smith. He and Max Holmes are going to be your 2 locks in there, and then you've got other guys there, so George is going to struggle for a spot, I think, but we'll see how that goes. Connor O'Sullivan, I'm a big fan. Mitch Edwards, I'm a big fan, so I think Geelong's definitely promising. I don't think we've seen enough from enough in order for me to put them past an Adelaide here. I'm going to put Geelong here, and we'll see how they go. But that is a really good group. I'm going to enjoy watching them, hopefully, for the next decade or so as a footy fan. Gold Coast are rolling with Will Graham, Ethan Reid, Jed Walter, Jake Rogers, Lloyd Johnston, Bailey Humphrey, Bodie Hewland, and Mac Andrew. This sounds nuts, considering that before he did his ACL, Bailey Humphrey could have been the number 1 pick in the draft. There is an argument to be made that he is bottom 2 on that list of guys that are genuinely pop off the page. Jed Walter, I think, is going to be a superstar of this competition. I really do. Ethan Reid is your reply. Well, he and Ned Moyle are going to compete for the Jared Witts role once he goes. Will Graham, Dimmer Hardwick loves, and it's easy to see why. The guy just oozes good football. Jakey Rogers showed quite a bit in his first sort of season there as a nippy half forward. He and Leo Lombard, I think, are going to be a really good high half forward combo as they start to hit, 20, 21, 22 years of age. So you think of like your Dylan Moore, Connor McDonald combo. They're not exactly those players, but I think they can have that kind of paired impact coming off the flanks there. Lloyd Johnston's got the celebrations, which is really nice. Humphrey's kind of been a teasing talent at this point. Mac Andrew, I mean, they gave that massive contract to, so they've got a lot of faith in him. Easy to see why. So athletic, glides in the air. Unbelievable. Bodie Yuland, I think, was pretty underrated last year. I think he finished top 2, second in their best and fairest, which is awesome. And just a heads up, his brother in next year's draft, holy moly, brilliant. So I'm actually going to take Gold Coast at this point in time, and I'm going to put them in between. So that two of the academy clubs in the top 2 so far. GWS are rolling with James Leake, Phoenix Gothard, Harvey Thomas, Joe Fonte, Nathan Wardius, Harry Rouston, Toby McMullen, Max Grzuski. I know that's not how you pronounce it, but I get tongue-tied when I try to pronounce it properly. So Max, I apologise. And Nick Madden, Darcy Jones, Aaron Cadman, Josh Fay, and Finn Callahan. So there are some obvious standouts on this list. So Finn Callahan being the number 1 on that list. This guy's a gun. Genuine gun. Would love to see some more consistency in his game. That'll come considering his age. That's perfectly fine. The kid with the lid, Darcy Jones on a wing. I love him so much. And when you think of guys like Peatling and Perryman and maybe Xavier O'Halloran that are going to leave, more is going to come on Darcy Jones. I think he and Josh Fay are going to be the wingmen of the future for the Giants. I think you can just put those magnets on the whiteboard for 2025 and even beyond that, obviously, and roll there. Aaron Cadman's going to continue to grow. I thought he had some really promising moments in the back end of last year, but he'll continue getting better, which is nice. Harvey Thomas had that nightmare moment at the MCG against Melbourne with Jesse Hogan, so he'll want that back. We haven't seen a whole lot of Phoenix, James Leake, and Joe Fonte just yet. Nathan Wardius we haven't seen. Harry Rouston we've seen a little bit of, I should say. McMullen's been sub a couple of times. Maxi G, we've seen again a little bit of. Nick Madden. So this is quite a teasing group, I would say. I definitely think it's promising. Don't get me wrong. I think, though, I would put them... Do I put them ahead of the Crows? I'm going to say no. I think I'm just going to have them ahead of Geelong. Essendon fans are hating me right now. I think. Hawthorn, Will McCabe, Cole Shadir, Bodie Ryan, Nick Watson, Jack O'Sullivan, Jasper Scaife, Josh Bennett, Bailey McDonald, Henry Husway, Josh Weddle, Cam McKenzie, Josh Ward, Massimo D'Ambrosio, I should say, Maxi Ramsden, Jai Sarong, Sam Butler, and Connor McDonald. What a mixed bag this is. When you consider that Hawthorn's run later in the year happened because of guys like Cole Shadir up forward who dominated. Nick Watson came into his own. Like, those two were outstanding. Fought for the best first-year player, which eventually went to the Wizard. Just quietly. Jasper Scaife hasn't put a foot wrong at Box Hill since coming across from Perth in the Waffle, obviously, in the mid-season draft. Haven't seen Josh Bennett. Haven't really seen Bailey McDonald. I think he's played a game. Has B-Mac. But Henry Husway, a guy I'm a massive fan of, but there are too many midfielders ahead of him. So when you think of kind of tiering these guys, you've got Deere, you've got Watson, you've got Weddle, you've got D'Ambrosio, and you've got Connor McDonald there as your best 22 standouts, and they're the ones that make you so exciting. And then you go a little bit of your unknowns there. So you go Will McCabe, who between you and me has got a little bit of James Sicily about him in the way that he plays and floats and all those kinds of things. Looks really exciting. I don't really know what to make of Bodie Ryan and Bailey McDonald. I don't know if I can see them being big contributors. Yeah, I hope they can be, of course. And it's not like it has to happen really quickly. Jack O'Sullivan and Josh Bennett are small forwards that saw us draft Nick Watson at pick 5, trade in Jack Ginnivan whilst they were still there. So where does that leave them? And then you've got guys who have got some experience who you just have no idea about. Cam McKenzie and Josh Ward, top 10 draft picks that aren't 100% established in your best 22 side. D'Ambrosio is a star, as we know. Max Ramsden, again, we've seen a little bit of. Jai Sarong, we've seen a little bit of. Sam Butler, we've seen a little bit of, but they're relatively unknown. So how do you put all of that into a melting pot and decide where they go? And Hawthorn's actually the team that made me not sit on the fence and not have something between promising and unknown. Something like potential. For example, I didn't want to put that there because that would be too easy for me to sort clubs through. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put Freo as unknown. Think I'm going to put I'll leave Geelong there. And I actually think I think the quality of the Hawks players has got to be working for them. I think their top end works for them. I think I'm going to have the Hawks here. I think. That's where my head's at. But let's keep working through and we can come back to it and make edits if necessary. Melbourne, Luca Kentfield, Colton Tolstrup, Caleb Windsor, Kynan Brown, Jed Adams, Oliver Satan, Will Verral, Matt Jefferson, Andy Monez, Wakefield, Judd McVie, Jacob Van Rooyen, Blake Howes, and Taj Woden. We've nearly seen all of these guys. Haven't seen anything of Kentfield just yet, but we've seen the hyphen, we've seen Tolstrup, Windsor, Brown. We haven't seen a whole lot of Jed Adams or Ollie just yet. I love Judd McVie. Jacob Van Rooyen, I've still got a lot of faith in. Matt Jefferson, we can hopefully see in 25. Blake Howes, I think, got better with every AFL game he played, just about. Tajway Woden showed a bit. I am still going to go with unknown here, because I think the only one that is a genuine hit out of the park at this point in time is Windsor and McVie. So 2, sorry, I apologise. At this point in time, I think the rest are still too unknown in order for me to put them up a tier, so Melbourne are going to stay here. North Melbourne have got Will Dawson, Geordie Payne, Zane Dersma, Taylor Goad, Colby McKercher, Riley Hardiman, Blake Drury, Harry Sheasel, Cooper Harvey, George Wardlaw, Robert Hanson Jr., Braden George, Jackson Archer, Finn Marley, Josh Goda, Paul Curtis, and Miller Bergman. I need a nap after reading all of that out. Now, this is definitely, it's exciting that you've got such a big group, which I understand you could feel the same thing about Hawthorn here in a big way, but in terms of Georgie Wardlaw's a hit out of the park for sure. Colby McKercher is a hit out of the park. The rest, Harry Sheasel, of course. I nearly went over the Shees then. But those 3 are definite ticks. Jackson Archer played some really good shutdown roles at the back end of last year, so that's awesome. I think Paul Curtis is a tick as well. So massive ticks there for the Roos. But there are so many names on this list that are still maybes. What are we going to see more from Will Dawson? Can Zane Dersma take a step next year? And hopefully he can with Darling coming to the club. You know, Riley Hardiman I want to see more of. Blake Drury I want to see more of. Cooper Harvey I think we need to see more of. Robert Hanson Jr. we need to see more of. Can we, by Christ, get Braden George out on the park? Because I love this guy. For crying out loud. Will we see Finbar? I don't know. We need to get Josh Goda out there more because he's a beautiful left foot kick. And Miller Bergman. So there's a lot of unknown there. However, I trust the quality that they have produced so far to continue a little bit. And this is going to be interesting because do I put them ahead of the Hawks? I actually don't know if Collingwood deserve to be as high up as they are either, by the way. I actually think, you know what? I actually don't think there are any duds on this list, confirmed duds here yet. So I think I'm going to put North, Moya, Bins. I think I'm going to put North here. That sounds about right. I'm also going to swap the Hawks with Collingwood. For now, we'll see how that goes. From North Melbourne, let's go to Port Adelaide, who have got Logan Evans, Xavier Walsh, Tom Anesthesiologist, because that's what it looks like. Sorry, Tom. Anastasopoulos? Anastasopoulos. We'll go with that. Will Lorenz, Lockie Charlson, Tom Scully, no, not that one, he's a tall forward, Kyle Marshall, Jace Burgoyne, Jason Orne-Francis, Hugh Jackson, Dante Vicentini, and Josh Sin. There are a lot of ticks here. Logan Evans, with the way he performed in the back end of the year, is a tick. Jason Orne-Francis is a tick. Jace Burgoyne is an absolute tick. I really like Josh Sin. Will Lorenz is only going to get better and better. So they're definitely in the promising to exciting category here. I definitely don't think they're ahead of the Hawks in terms of their under-21 talent. Are they ahead of the Pies? No, yes, no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to put them... Actually... I don't think they're ahead of the Crows either. I don't think so. And that's not a negative, Port. You've just played in a prelim. You don't need to rely on too many under-21 guys. So don't stress. Don't panic. All right, let's move on. Richmond, Liam Fawcett, Kane McAuliffe, Seth Campbell, Caleb Smith, Steely Green, Judson Clark, Campbell Gray, Tom Brown, Josh Gibkiss, Sam Banks, and Tyler Sonzi. Plus these 7 draft picks they're probably going to take into this draft, and they'll keep on building draft capital for next year. I am definitely here going to go in the unknown category. I think they are... Freo... Yeah, Freo feel low to me. I'm going to put Freo there, I think. I'll come back to it. But Richmond, so we haven't seen a lot of Fawcett yet, but Kane McAuliffe I like. Seth Campbell's a tick in my opinion. Tom Brown is a tick. Josh Gibkiss, I just hope he's okay, but I love him a lot. Sam Banks has shown a bit, but Banks, Sonzi, and Judson Clark, I think, are 3 on that list in particular that just haven't shown enough yet. That means that Richmond's group right now is relatively unknown, which is going to happen post a dynasty. So don't take that out on me at this point in time. But yeah, they're definitely unknown for mine. I don't think they're a worry yet. Again, but I'm kind of thinking to myself, if they had no draft picks or this draft wasn't coming Am I being too light on them? And I think with a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys, to have 3 ticks and maybe 4 unknowns, I think I'm going to keep them there. Are they more unknown than Melbourne? Yes, they are, I think, so far. All right. St Kilda, Angus Hastie, Darcy Wilson, Hugo Garcia, Lance Collard, Ari Schoenmaker, Matthias Philippou, Ollie Houghton, Angus McLennan, Isaac Keeler, Anthony Caminiti, Mitch Owens, Marcus Winhager, Liam O'Connell, and Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera. This could genuinely be one of the better ones in the competition. I definitely think Brisbane are just going to stay there because the future with the under-21s looks so good with the structure of their list. But Darcy Wilson's a tick. Matthias Philippou is a tick, in my opinion, and I think he's only just going to get better and better. Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera is a tick. Owens is a tick. I think Winhager will be very shortly. Pumped to see what Ollie Houghton can do. Schoenmaker looks good. Lance Collard needs to shut up and focus on his footy, which I'm sure he's doing. We saw a bit of Angus Hastie, which is good. I mean, one of the advantages that you've got is you've seen, I think all of these guys, except for Isaac Keeler, and maybe Angus, haven't played yet. So that probably helps in your bid of having that exciting future. There's less unknown there, for good or bad or otherwise. So St Kilda's definitely exciting. Are they more exciting than North? I think they're more known than North, so I think I can be more excited about what I know rather than what I don't know. So I'm going to put St Kilda there. Sydney, Will Green, Patrick Snell, Tom Hannity, Indy Kirk, Caden Cleary, Jacob Constantine, Caleb Mitchell, Angus Sheldrick, Corey Warner, Matt Roberts, and Will Edwards. Now, they're just kind of in the same boat as a couple of other teams here. They're kind of the reverse of Brisbane, is that Brisbane have got so many young players that played in the grand final side, and Sydney have got so many young players that didn't. So just looking at this list, the only one that did was Matt Roberts. We've seen quite a bit from Angus Sheldrick, and he's been pretty good. We've seen a bit from Caden Cleary, he's shown a bit, but the rest of them, you just haven't really seen them. So is it a worry that we haven't seen them? Probably not, but I think I have to put them in the worrying category. I worry about that list. There's not a whole lot of youth replenishment. Guess what, Sydney? Not a bad thing. I'm not trashing you at all. If there's one guy on this list that I would really love to see, if I could pick someone who's not Matty Roberts, play every game next year so we could really get a look at him, it would be Jacob Constantine, who I like a lot. So, Sydney, that is not an indictment on you in the slightest. Let's go to West Coast. Archer Reid, Harvey Johnston, Locke Rowlinson, Cohen Livingston, Clay Hall, Harley Reid, Ruben Jinby, Kobe Burgell, Ryan Marrick, Noah Long, Elijah Hewitt, Tyrell Dewar, Harry Barnett, Jack Williams, Rhett Bazzo, Campbell Chesser, Brady Hoff, and Jai Cully. This is a list that's almost worth its own full-length video because this is either ticks, massive unknowns, or relative unknowns. So the massive ticks, of course, are going to go to Harley Reid. The probable ticks on there, so I think Rhett Bazzo by the end of next year is going to earn a tick there. I like Jack Williams a lot. Pumped to see what he can do. I'm an Elijah Hewitt fan. Noah Long's already played some good footy. Ryan Marich on a wing has played some really good footy. Ruben Jinby down back looked really good. I don't know what Josh Jenkins was watching, but anyway, we'll move on from that. I'm a little bit worried about Clay Hall. I just don't know if he's going to have the weapons to last in this West Coast midfield that they're building, but happy to be proven wrong there. Archer Reid's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing. We've seen a bit of Harvey Johnston already, so I definitely think there's a lot of promise in this West Coast list. Harley Reid does help, of course. Is this list better than Adelaide's? More promising than Adelaide's? I don't think so. Is it more promising than Port's? Maybe on quantity, but is that unfair to judge? Yeah, I'll put it there. I'm starting to think Freo is now too low, and I need to put them up. But we'll do the revisions at the end. Last but not least, the Bulldogs. Joel Frazier, Lachlan Smith, Jordan Croft, Riley Sanders, Jed Buslinger, Charlie Clark, Harvey Gallagher, Sam Darcy, and Arthur Jones. Well, this is definitely promising, of course. Joel Frazier's excellent. Sam Darcy's is excellent. Riley Sanders is going to be excellent if he's given a chance. I'm very interested to see what they do with Jordan Croft, considering they've already got the 3 tall forwards. So he is number 4 on that list. And they've still got Rory Lobb, who they could throw forward, which would be stupid because he's really good down back. Arthur Jones we've seen. Harvey Gallagher we've seen. They've been fine enough, I guess. It's been really weird. They haven't played Jed Buslinger, who's had some really good VFL form. So it's really strange to me as to why that he hasn't really been playing, but I'm pumped to see what he can do. Don't know a whole lot about Lachlan Smith, I'm not going to lie to you. And Charlie Clark is a small forward in an area of the ground they really need to cover. How many Latham Vandermeers, can you play? You got Cody Waitman down there. Riley West plays a really interesting defensive half-forward role, so he doesn't really count in this conversation. But as a pure roving talent, they don't have any And an Arthur Jones, Charlie Clark, they haven't really made that position their own. So we'll see how they go. The Bulldogs, I still think there's some promise here. I think there's more known than unknown, or there's more known quality than unknown quality here. My instincts say there. I don't think it's more promising than the Eagles as a collective. Actually, I think it is. Can the Bulldogs go here? Darcy, Fraser, Sanders, pretty much love everyone else on that list. There seems right. I think I'm dropping Geelong there and going next to Freo. No, I'm going to put them there. So I definitely think looking at this on review, I think I need to move Collingwood down. I just think I've not overrated, but everyone apart from Nick Dacos. I think I'm going to put Collingwood. I actually think I'm going to put Collingwood here, and I reckon the rest of that is right. That's where I'm going to leave it, I think. On review, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I actually think I'm going to drop Carlton behind the Hawks, and that's it. So that's where it'll stand, guys. So if you like the video, subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. I hope you're having an amazing week. Fingers crossed we can actually get some trades done. That would be handy, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.